Hey everybody, this is James Pelton. Appreciate you guys being here. Whether you're watching this live or as a replay, I appreciate you guys. I usually interact more with the live people, obviously, but I appreciate everybody who watches this as a replay. Appreciate you guys watching the replays as well. I try to get the chapters in there as quick as I can, so if you don't have to watch the full hour, but can skip around. But appreciate you guys. As we look at the audience, Keith, Chance, Justin, already here. Please hit the like button. And let me know. I haven't done this for a while. I used to do like a comment question of the day, but then I couldn't think of them anymore. But now I have a new solution for what I'm going to do. It's kind of cheating, but give me a question of the day for my YouTube channel. Use ChatGPT to cheat. So here's the question for today. If you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be? That is the question for the day. Thank you, ChatGPT, for being my assistant. I really appreciate it. Jamil, Baz, Keith, good to see all of you. So we are here with Wealth Mountain, and we've had Wealth Mountain before, and they kind of had a phase one of what they were doing. So we're going to talk through what happened with phase one. Did it go as planned? How do they feel like it went? And what's phase two? And should people get involved in phase two? What do you say to people who don't want to be in phase one or didn't like how phase one turned out and are considering phase two? So we're going to talk through some of that. So thank you for joining us here today. Could you start out by just quick intro, and then we'll jump into some questions.
Sure thing. Yeah, we're glad to be back. Thanks, James. So Wealth Mountain, we start off as a sort of hybrid ROI DApp that's generating funds to build a treasury or portfolio, with the original concept being we could generate enough revenue to create passive income opportunities for other folks. There were hard-coded rewards rates, and those rewards rates were too high. And so our plan going forward was to have the rewards be determined by the portfolio performance itself, and that's where we are now.
Okay, very good. Yeah, so let's talk about that phase one. So I think when I had you here last time, I think you were pretty upfront about the fact that, hey, when this is starting out, it is a Ponzi. It's basically, this is just kind of a normal, you fill up a contract, you get a certain reward, you take that money out. When the contract's gone, the contract's gone. Meanwhile, you were taking taxes and putting that into a treasury, which you ended up building a pretty significant sized treasure. So some people, are upset that, it was a Ponzi at the beginning. And, some people lost money, which is inevitable and that type of thing. What would you say to people? Because from my perspective, this is how it was designed from the beginning. Was you do this kind of phase one Ponzi-ish thing to build a treasury to do a more solid phase two. Is that kind of how you guys think through it? Or do you want to add anything to that or say anything more about how phase one went?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so from the get-go, it was built with the idea in mind that we'd be able to generate more revenue than what was hard-coded in the smart contracts. It wasn't designed to fail so quickly if it were to fail, but it did fail quicker than we expected. But that being said, we were totally upfront from the beginning. We made sure that there were pop-ups that were super annoying to our users, so they would always have to read through our FAQs to sort of better understand what was going on. We were audited by multiple audit companies. There were no exploits or issues pertaining to that. It was just the natural evolution of a contract that sort of relies on new users and external revenue to keep going. And this was a case where the external revenue didn't outweigh the rewards. So rewards ate into users' deposits, which was the risk from the get-go, which we tried to be as clear as possible for, but can't blame anyone for losses that were incurred.
Okay, gotcha. So can you talk then about this phase two and kind of what's going to be different about this time around? Why is not the exact same thing going to happen this time? What would you say?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question. So what we've said from the beginning is exactly what we're doing now is if the rewards rates being hard-coded were too high, then we were going to switch to a model that was fully dependent on portfolio revenue as opposed to any hard-coded preset returns that we'd have to keep up with. So that's what we're doing now. So we have two different staking options that we actually built before we even launched V1. There were liquid and split stakes. Liquid staking allows you to put your money into a contract. It sits there isolated in its own pool. You pay a 6% fee, and that money stays and belongs to you no matter what happens. So if the TVL goes down to 0, it's because you took your last bit of money out along with everyone else. Completely fine. Rewards are fully dependent on the portfolio itself and how much money the Wealth Mountain team can make and actually inject into the contract. So that being said, no preset percentages, no preset promises for how much you're going to make. Your money sits in there, and we currently have a roadmap for making distributions every 2 months. We've made 2 distributions so far for early adopters, and that's going to continue with the eventual goal of having it be monthly, bi-weekly, weekly, potentially even more frequently in the future.
Okay, gotcha. And we have some good questions flying in from the audience, so I want to get to those as quickly as we can because I think for people who are involved in phase 1, if they're going to move over to phase 2, they have to get their questions answered. So let's bring up those. Do phase 1 people who didn't withdraw in time, do they get anything special for phase 2?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, so we actually found out exactly how many people were unable to withdraw, and we opened up a form for everyone to fill in their information, their wallet address, how much they think they lost, how much they actually lost. We ported them all over to this early adopters pool, and all early adopters are going to continue receiving distributions for as long as Wealth Mountain lives until they recoup those losses. So that's our way of trying to help you out for taking calculated risk and having it potentially not work out. Aside from that, we're going to incorporate voting. So split stakes will have voting built in, but we're also going to include early adopters in the voting process if you want to nominate a project that you think should be funded by Wealth Mountain or invested in by Wealth Mountain.
Okay, do you want to talk through what you're planning to do with the treasury to develop those returns?
Yeah, sure thing. So interestingly enough, it seems like quite a few people think that we only invest in DeFi projects because we intentionally advertise the losses associated with those investments. One of them being Stable Fund or Furio. It's intentional that we put that on the forefront. But like an example of some of the other sort of investments that we're in would be a variety of different tokens that we're going to be dollar cost averaging over the course of this year. We have a funding agreement in place with a potential payroll/airdrop competitor startup. So we're actually finalizing what the name is going to be. We're actually pushing back on the name that they chose, but once we get those things sorted, we're really excited to bring them on board, get them funded, and get them up and running. We're funding another startup called Team Blixen, who they basically make ROI dApps. They're very upfront about it, and they actually teach people what Solidity Code actually does for these types of contracts. We've actually generated really good returns there. And we're planning to open up our investment strategy to a bunch of our community and actually work with other communities in the space to sort of have meaningful discussions around what we should do.
Okay, very good. I might recommend Warbots or James Pelton Forex NFTs. Might be 2 things I would recommend. But I know you guys put money into like Stable Fund, and I know there was DeFi has been just a complete disaster here recently. Stable Fund, Furio, Horde, Alpha Capital, all sorts of things. Are those just kind of losses, or what have you kind of learned from that? And how do we make sure that funds aren't lost going forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we allocated around 20% of the portfolio at the time to these high risk sort of projects, with the idea in mind being that other projects understand that we're collaborative, right? We're not trying to compete with other projects in the DeFi space. We're participating in these other projects, hopefully to sort of gain exposure to their communities. It happened here and there, but we definitely overshot the investment in Stable Fund, which I wouldn't call an investment, especially when you look at their smart contracts per se.
Right.
Going forward, the plan isn't to continue to allocate massive amounts of capital into these, risky degen projects. We don't mind funding some of them based on their ethics and their code and the amount of access they give us to have control over what they're doing. But that being said, not much of that will be going on in the future.
Okay. Gotcha. Funny Turo says one of the failures I would say for Wealth Mountain V1 was investors could withdraw all of their investment all at once. A drip reward system would have made it last longer. Have you guys considered anything like that, or you're going to stick with people can take out their whole holding at once?
We still firmly believe in letting people do what they want with their money. So we don't plan to change that. I mean, in this case for liquid staking, everyone can take all of their money out and nothing will happen. If anything, we have less to pay out to these pools.
Gotcha. And then you kind of talked about this already, but what are the revenue estimates? So, if before we were, paying out 2%, 3% or whatever, what do you guys kind of anticipate that the returns will be with this new method? And again, these are not guaranteed, which is the big change, but what's kind of the estimated or the goal that you're looking for?
We see it as a sort of exponential increase in revenue generation leading into 2024. Just based on macroeconomic conditions of 2023, what we sort of expect to happen. I mean, there is a little bit of a disconnect right now between the crypto market and the overall market as a whole, but we don't expect that to last this year, which is something that we're definitely ready to debate about. But estimate-wise, I feel like we need more data. We've liquidated a lot of positions to hold on to enough cash to buy the dip. So not quite sure yet. We're keeping it up in the air until we can actually have some more distributions going forward.
Okay, no, that makes a lot of sense. Can you walk us through a little bit? How does this early adopters? That's a lot of the questions in the comments. How does this work, or what do people need to do to be part of this if they were in V1?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually opened up basically a migration form where you can just enter your wallet address and enter like how much you were unable to take out. We then scanned through the blockchain, got everyone's accurate numbers. And this is basically a representation of the losses that users have incurred. It's not liquid capital, but it's going to continue to go down as we continue to make distributions going forward until it's down to zero.
Okay, and if people didn't fill out that form already, is it too late now?
That's correct, because the smart contract is immutable. We don't want to be able to make any alterations to
Okay.
this.
So this is only for people who filled out that form. So again, a good reminder to just be active in Discord. There was a lot of announcements about it, and that's, I think, where and I'll leave a link to the Discord. Again, if you're ever getting into any project that you care about in any way, hop in the Discord and make sure you pay attention to the announcements. That's actually the hardest part of me being in 95 projects or whatever I'm in now, that I miss a lot of the announcements. So gotcha. Gabriel says, for phase 1 that were unable to withdraw in time and had their funds locked, why did you decide to offer extremely small returns every 90 days rather than allowing them a return minus fees and such? Do you want to just talk through the thought process of why you ended up going this direction with it?
So why offer small returns every 90 days or so rather than allowing them a return minus fees and such? Well, so returns are completely based on how much revenue the wealth portfolio generates, right? So if we generate more, there's more returns. If we generate less, there's less returns. And everyone's stake amount that was migrated, that's your proportion to the total pool, right? So if you had $1 million in, then you're getting like close to 50% of all the rewards. If you had far less, then you're getting far less.
Okay, that makes sense. So there's the total amount, 2,367,000. So whatever your stake, you get that percentage of what's going into that. Let's see. So what is the motivation for someone who is not in phase 1 to go in now? It seems like my deposits would just be supporting recovery for investors from V1.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think we need to look at like what Wealth Mountain sort of stands for and what we're really trying to do and what we have been trying to do from the get-go. And it's becoming a sort of like community-driven whale wallet that can really influence the success of other projects in the DeFi space. And so we can set certain standards and we can set the precedent going forward for what you should expect when you go to another DeFi project, what you should look for. It's basically like we want to lead by example, and we want to be able to have a sort of control on the base minimum standard that a lot of these projects should need to meet before they can even get any attention. It seems like a lot of these projects are spitting up with malicious intentions and really sort of, acting maliciously, and it's because of the lack of education in the space. We really want to work towards, like, teaching more users about what you should look for when you get into a project. How is the audit? What does the audit include? Does it matter if a team is doxxed or not? What exactly is the outcome if you like run a mathematical model for a certain smart contract? Are NFTs a good idea? We really want to like facilitate and harbor these conversations. We want to bring them in, and we actually want to make a lot of different investments that can uh, probably reap some great rewards over time. Your deposits would not be going to support just the investors from V1. I mean, it will have to depend on how many people are in each pool, and we'd have to proportionally like adjust our revenue numbers for that.
Okay. And it looks like we have some questions about, can you again, you mentioned it before, but maybe in a little more detail, can you kind of explain the difference between the liquid staking and the split staking, and how risk would be different, how people should think about those different options?
Yeah, so liquid staking is basically you can put your capital in, you can take it out at any time. There's a 6% fee to get in, there's no fee to get out at any time. Your rewards are proportional based on the pool, similar to the early adopters. So if you put in $100 in a $1,000 pool, you get 10% of all the rewards that we distribute to liquid stakers. Split staking is a little bit different. It's similar to maybe purchasing an NFT, but you purchase a split stake for a set price. This price goes up over time. You can sell it at any time for 25% of what you paid, but you will also be earning more because every user in a split staking pool gets an equal amount. So if there are 10 split stakers, everyone gets 10%. That's sort of how it works, and it has a max cap of 300%.
Okay, very good. So, audience, does that make sense? Kind of the difference between those two. If it isn't, feel free to keep asking questions to get some more clarification on that. But it makes sense to me. So, yeah, let me know if there's more questions on that. Happy to ask. Jamil would like to know, what if phase 2 fails? Any process set up to help investors who don't want to be in the same situation as phase 1?
Interesting. So it's theoretically not possible for users to be in the same place as phase 1 because you can't lose your initial capital. You can purchase a split stake and you can sell it, or you can create a liquid stake and just take your money out. Failure in phase 2, what does that mean? We're not generating a lot of revenue, or we lose all of the money. Those are two potential outcomes there, but there's never a situation where anyone can be in a situation like phase 1.
Yes, and that's the huge difference. We're seeing this with a number of protocols where if you guarantee a certain percentage and then you just don't have enough revenue to cover it, then you can run out. But if you're just giving out the actual returns, then yeah, in theory, there should not be a way to run out in the contract. Is kind of the idea. Let's see here. Is a liquid state just another term for a deposit? So basically, there's a 6% deposit fee. Is it that same deposit fee on? Well, there's the 6% on the liquid staking. Is there any deposit fee on the split staking?
No, because split staking is like making a purchase. So you're buying a split stake, and 75% of those USDT tokens are pumped straight into the wealth portfolio. So you can see split staking as a slightly more risky opportunity to earn more, but also risk more. And liquid staking, yeah, you can see it as a deposit that you can take out anytime.
Gotcha. And we had a few more questions about how should people think about ROI? People are always looking for specific numbers, like the 1% a day or 2% a day. Again, just your best estimates. Again, not going to be held to it because we're doing actual revenue. But what do you anticipate? Do you anticipate 0.2% a day, or have you guys run some numbers around that?
So I believe our average over the past 4 months has been close to 3% per month. So cash on cash, it was around 7% in November and 4.24 in January for both of those distributions.
Okay, so that's helpful. And those are the types of returns, just so the audience knows too. I've found that like the 3 to 6% a month is what has been sustainable in the past couple of years. So those are actually kind of the types of numbers I've been looking at. Again, my projects that I've been running, That's what we aim for, is that 3 to 6%. It just I'd rather have the more sustainable. The degen has been destroyed in me from just the way that the bear market has treated us, and malicious people in the bear market. So that's where I'm kind of at. Yeah, it's me. He says, what if no new stakers come in? Does that affect the protocol?
No, not at all. I mean, if new stakers come in, it may accelerate our ability to like have more capital to invest, like create some more leverage, but not necessary at all. We're going to continue to generate revenue every other month. We're basically working on making distributions, and the cascading other months are used for compounding and continuing to build on our portfolio.
Okay, very good. And we've got a celebrity in the house, Crypto Andy. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for stopping by. But he says you could treat liquid staking like a savings account. Since the pools are untouched, just let it sit. Your max damage is 6% if you make nothing. So that's kind of the right way to think about the liquid staking. Is you lose 6% right at the beginning, but then everything you make on top of that, it will never go down below that. Is that the right way to think about it?
Precisely, yeah.
Okay, so for Crypto Andy, not financial advice, but you could treat it like a savings account. Just put in, leave it for a long time, and if you're making the 3, 4, 5, 6% a month, then eventually you could make a pretty nice return there. So, does anybody else in the audience have any questions? I'd like to talk through any new developments that you have. I know we talked through a lot of your partnerships and things like that before. Do you have any new partnerships that you want to talk about, or new features that you're really excited about in this new version?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that we're excited about is really revamping our wealth portfolio dashboard. We're doing a couple of housekeeping things with security. So we're going to be splitting up our wealth portfolio wallet into 4 different wallets that have different approvals and different revocation that's going to happen automatically for any token approvals. So we're going to separate it by tokens or lending and staking, high risk, and operational costs, and everything will be publicly displayed on the wealth portfolio. We have a lot of stats, and we also have a lot of community-related things that we're excited to do moving forward, sort of bringing different investment communities together, having open discussions about different projects, analyzing these projects, figuring out if it's a good idea to get into them or not, and so forth.
Okay, gotcha. That is exciting. Jamil says, James, can you explain with 3 to 6% returns? How do you end up with? So the answer to this question, I can answer this one, is just the way compounding interest works. So compounding interest, if you make 3% a month, you can do 1.03. Let me see if I can share my calculator. That'll be more helpful than you guys seeing this. Give me 1 second here. But basically, when you're doing compounding interest, you do 1.03 to the power of however many months you're planning on being in. So if you are getting like 6% returns per month for 5 years, that'd be 1.06 to the 60th power. And so that's like 3,300% APY. Or 3,300% return over a long time. So compounding interest is where the 3 to 6% returns. Yeah, if you're just looking at a month or 2 months or 3 months, you're not going to make very much, especially when in crypto. I mean, you're going to, 18% in 3 months is like, that's most things are dead within 3 months. But where the real power in the 3 to 6% returns is if this can continue on for years, at 6% a month after 5 years, you're at 3,000% return. So you've 30x'd your money after that amount of time. So that's what I would say to that one. Do you guys have any thoughts for how long you want this to last for? Do you have goals or aims? Are you thinking, hey, this is going to be a 50-year project, or what are kind of your thoughts around the longevity?
I'd say it sort of depends on how regulation treats something like this, of course, but we really would like to have this last for as long as possible. And we'd really like to harbor a really core group of users and investors and educated folks, especially as the DeFi space grows and expands and more users begin entering the space with like maybe the next bull market or any other regulatory changes that might open up DeFi to people. The more that we can grow as an educated group of users that can help onboard others in the future, the safer it'll be for everyone.
Yes, totally agree. Got you there. And Davis says, can James have a large clout vote on what the portfolio invests in? I'd say 100% into warbots, Forex NFTs would be my 100%. But no, I would like to have we'll talk off air about potentially Wealth Mountain, maybe putting some of the treasury into this. How are those investments? Can you talk a little bit more about how those investments are going to be chosen?
Yeah, sure thing. So we originally had 25% allocation split up amongst 4 different investment types. We're going to make an alteration to that to sort of focus more on Wealth Combinator, which is sort of our investing arm in startups in the DeFi space. So Team Blixen, for example, was extremely lucrative and will continue to be really lucrative for us to sort of watch over. We're expecting pretty good returns for this new airdrop competitor service that we are funding. And we still have around, I think, 60 applicants to go through. I believe
Oh, wow.
Since what was it? Since like November, we've been just getting more and more different proposals from all of these different users, whether it be teams of 3 or teams of 10, or just folks looking for investments into their projects. So we still have a bit of a backlog there, but that's definitely something we want to focus on.
Okay, so if I have a project that I would like Wealth Mountain to consider, this would be the right place to go, is to this combinator form here.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if there's anybody watching from any projects and you're looking for investors, or then again, here's the form. I'll leave a link to that. So I think that's a cool thing to do. But yeah, apparently they're very backlogged though, so it might take a while to get through all of them. But yeah, no, really like that. So for people who are interested, this is all, the split staking is not complete or is not ready to go. Is that correct?
Right. Split staking should launch in about a week.
Okay. So split staking should go in about a week. And again, split staking would be the kind of riskier option. The liquid staking is live right now. And so you can get into that right now. Yeah, it's me asks, are these guys KYC'd?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, not yet. Is that on the roadmap somewhere?
Yes, it's still something that we're considering. We just haven't gotten around to doing it yet.
Okay. So again, what I always tell people, if that's a big, if that's one of the things, the criteria you're looking for in a project is KYC'd or docs or things like that, then at this point, this would not be the right move for you. Do you want to just talk about, what would you say to someone who says, hey, I'm not going to get in if they're not KYC'd, not docs? What would be kind of your response to them?
I would say research is important into the historical sort of, I guess, like how valuable KYCs have proven to be over the past year for multiple projects that were KYC'd and did go down. But once again, totally respect the decision. Everyone needs parameters before they put their capital anywhere, and if that's one of yours, then that's great.
Okay. Yep. Gotcha. And welcome, Green Llama Crypto. Appreciate you joining the community. Really appreciate you. Yeah, and I will say, so I have appreciated about you guys. We've seen DeFi projects kind of just fail left and right? And a lot of times it seems like the team kind of just runs away with the money, is what we see often. And I appreciate, even though you guys aren't doxed, you're not KYC'd, it would have been actually pretty easy for you to run away with the money, I think. But you haven't. And so to me, that kind of bodes a little bit well. It speaks to what you guys are trying to do. So that's kind of my take on it. But again, if that's something you're looking for, is some people have a rule, I'm only going to invest in KYC projects. That's totally fine. And then you would just say, okay, this one's not for you until they get a KYC. So, okay, very good. Well, I think that's about all the questions I have. I feel like I'm pretty clear on, what happened phase 1, what you guys are doing to fix it. I like phase 2. Personally, I wish that we had started with the phase 2, but we kind of all learn as we're going. If you had to kind of sum up like the biggest lessons learned from phase 1, what would you kind of say those are?
I'd say the biggest lessons that we as a development team learned from phase 1 was it's okay to be ambitious, but being a bit too unrealistically ambitious during a bear market is not the right approach. communication is important. I mean, like, we've had thousands of users reach out to us and just even be completely fine with the capital that they risked because of our level of communication, transparency, honesty, and like continuing to drive forward. I mean, like the treasury portfolio value of like 500-600K, it's a lot to some, it's not a lot to others. In our case, this isn't what we're aiming for. We're aiming for a much larger impact in DeFi in general, and it'll obviously take time, but we're excited for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Justin says, I think one of your mods, Pocket Aces, he says they've always done what they say, allowed me to be very transparent as their mod. So they have my vote. And I will say you're one of the few projects that was like upfront about what exactly you're doing. I thought communication went really well. You know, there's some projects like, I hate to name them. Well, actually I don't. But like Stable Fund, you know, we're still waiting. Like, where's our refunds and what's going on? And still kind of waiting for communication on a lot of these projects. So yeah, appreciate your transparency and communication. And that's, I really do appreciate that. I think that's key going forward. So let's go ahead. I always like to kind of end. Is there anything else that you kind of wanted to talk about or pieces that you feel like we didn't touch on? Or else I like to end with calls to action, unless you have anything else.
No, I guess like the only other thing is we have a slight apology for the delays for the release of V2. I believe we had the code ready during V1, but we had a lot of back and forth with Certic because we really wanted to hammer on the security associated with all of our projects. And it took especially long in this case because we basically maxed out the size of the smart contracts. I believe like if we added one more function, it wouldn't even be able to be deployed on the mainnet because of just the complexity involved. But thanks everyone for your patience, and thank you, James, for having us on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've jumped back into coding here in the last few weeks. And especially when you're trying to code smart, you're trying to be decentralized and code really tight smart contracts. It is a lot of work. And there just always is going to be delays and things like that. So I understand completely. My heart goes out to programmers. That's been my life here for the last couple of weeks. And it's not easy. I think it's easier being a YouTuber than being a programmer, in my opinion. So let's see. How can I ask? Someone in the audience is wanting to know how big is the team? You know, developers, or how big is the team that's working with you guys?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have 3 mods that have been on payroll since day 1. We have 4 core developers, 2 core designers, and we have a couple of outsourced contractors as well that come in and out from time to time. Payroll for everyone outside of DeFi is still being fully funded by our team. We haven't taken any payments for anything that we've done associated with Wealth Mountain, which is very exciting that we're able to continue this forward.
Okay, very good. So now we'll get to my my wonderful marketing call to actions, is what we say in the marketing world, CTAs. So number 1 is hit the like button. Okay, again, please hit the like button. That helps get the word out. Number 2, let's go over to the website. But number 2, again, these are all free options, but you can hop on Twitter, follow them on Twitter. I'll leave links to all these. Join the Telegram, hop into the Discord. And then other than that, if you want to get involved in the paid side, the liquid staking is available now. So you can go to the website here. Again, I'll leave all these links in the chat and in the description. You can come here. You can start liquid staking now. Split staking should be available soon. So just stay tuned in the Discord. And I want to remind you too that if you want to get into the Combinator, if you want to be considered for that, then go ahead and fill out this form here. So those are all the calls to action. And I don't know if it's okay to share, but you just DM me. So is it all right if I share what you just DM me?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure. I guess that'd be kind of awkward if you said no. I'd be like, oh, never mind, everybody. But it says, as of today, Wealth Mountain is the proud owner of 10 JP NFTs. So thank you for the partnership. So looking forward to, we're shooting for that same kind of 3 to 6%. So, you know, hopefully if we can get some of these projects, we can get DeFi going with some projects that are sustainable and we don't make some gains and then lose it all, then make some gains and then lose it all. Hopefully we can move forward as a space and just bring some safety to the space. So, but thank you for your vote of confidence there.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, if you guys do have questions that we missed or didn't touch on, do hop in the Discord. Super great mods. Pocket Aces, again, he's one of my. I appreciate Pocket Aces so much. Words can't even describe. So hop into the Discord and ask questions there. But I appreciate all of you so much. Please hit like on your way out. Thank you, audience, and thank you, Wealth Mountain, for coming on and just talking to us through what you're building.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, I hope this was helpful for everyone. Again, replay will be available right when we're done. I'll get chapters in as quickly as I can. But I appreciate all you guys and hope everyone has a great rest of the day. Thank you so much.